Hey, everybody. Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about the new era system as well as Coliseum. And the purpose of the video is going to be that of more an evergreen guide for future generations of new players, as well as players right now who maybe just don't understand how the system works. I do see a lot of people asking about it on Discord. This is not about my personal feelings on the way that these events are structured, and is more made so that people have the information to make informed decisions. Now, we are going to be as general as possible with information because while I'm doing this during the first era that came out, there are obviously going to be new bosses in different eras and new characters over different eras. And there may even be changes to the amounts of currency that you receive, but overall, the information provided should benefit you either way. So, with that said, strap in, let's hit the intro, and don't forget to subscribe if you find it helpful. Okay, so it is November 2025. A new era system just unlocked, and it changes the way things work in the game. First and foremost, anytime new characters come to the game now, they're going to be part of this new era units collection. And that collection of era units, we see all of the characters as part of that era, with the exception of the Journey unit. Now, for this era, we know that it's Spider Mall, but for future eras, we may not know that ahead of time. But we will still see the release of these characters every 2 weeks. All of these characters are going to exist in isolation in this new Coliseum game mode until the era ends. And once the era ends, they will become part of your legacy roster, and you will be able to use them in all of the other game modes throughout Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. Now, the neat thing here is that you can level up all of your legacy roster while not necessarily worrying about your era roster, because your era roster is going to level up in different ways, and that is going to convert to legacy gear levels later on. But we'll talk more about that as the video kind of goes through. First and foremost, unlocking marquees, right? So we have Stormtrooper Luke. He was unlocked just a couple of days ago. I can either go to him through this sector right here and click on his shards to see that I have, a marquee event that is currently active, or I can go to my events tab and I can do the same thing. Okay, so I go in, I see that I have all of these tiers that are completable. They refresh every day for 7 days. In general, if you are a free to play player, you are going to be able to do tier one and you are going to be able to do tier two. Neither of these give you additional shards after the first day. However, you do get some mods and you do get some materials for your legacy roster, and you will work towards completing quests, though typically none of the character quests are completable unless you have also invested additional shards, either through spending crystals here, spending cash here, or buying the episode pass for this specific set of characters. If you haven't done that, you don't necessarily have to worry about those quests. If you have done that and you can go further in the tiers, you can always find those quests down here in your quest log, character quests, for some nice little goodies as you move along the shards. Okay, that is not any different than any marquee in the past. So if you're not a completely new player, you've probably seen this system over the last year. If you are a completely new player, it does cost you nothing to do that. It does cost you nothing to activate those characters, and it is recommended to do and keep up with because you will eventually earn those characters within the greater Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes game. Beyond that, let's go back to our collection, to our era units. We see Stormtrooper Luke. My character right now is level 20. from existing within the era system over the last couple of days. Um, the era itself hasn't gone on very long. We are told that if you are a daily player and if you play every day and you do all of the events that are available for free, that a free to play player who only plays the game and invests zero crystals, zero cash, will be able to get these characters in an era to level 65, right? And you'll notice that once we hit level 66, you'll actually be required to have 4 stars in order to go further. So this seems to be the direct or recommended cutoff for the majority of players, especially for players who are newer to the game and they have other more important things to worry about. That will bring these characters in the legacy system to gear level 12, and you will only have to worry about getting them from 12 to 13 before existing within the relicking system of the game. So that can save players a lot of time, effort, and energy just by playing a couple minutes a day. I know that this seems daunting, especially towards the beginning when we are not seeing a lot of materials coming out. And you look at the materials that you need to go further, and you say, hey, how am I going to get those things? And we are going to talk about that, but just know that the material levels do ramp up throughout the entire ecosystem of the era, from participating in the marquees, each one, participating in the Coliseum game mode, which is what we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, and participating through the era challenges system that appears the week after a new era character drops. It is important to note that when leveling up these characters, and we'll go over here to kind of show you. No, let's go through the store actually to show you. Can you? Oh, here it is, the era store. Going from level 1 to 15 on an era character, you will be able to find currency for crystals, so technically not pay to play. You will be able to find era level 1 to 15 currency for crystals, again, so that it is not pay to play. But once you hit level 15 with a character, if you want to advance further faster, you do need to pay cold hard cash. Again, this is just to get through the system faster. There may be some minor benefits with it, but I would strongly recommend that unless you're an end game player, that you just exist within the system as a free to play and let the system work itself while you're building up your legacy roster. For end game players, players who probably don't need this video, players who are maybe just watching this because they like the sound of my voice, whether or not you are going to spend money in the Coliseum or era level system is totally up to you and what your situation is. Now, again, as a reminder, when we are in this era unit system and we do level up our characters through the era system through that 65, it starts very, very, very slow. It starts very, very painfully. But we have seen through the data mines, through assurances from CG, through the roadmap that we have been given, that those amounts of materials will continue to increase further and further and further and scale, so that by the end, all players, as long as they are playing every day, will be able to bring every single one of these characters to 65, and they will rotate into the legacy system at year 12, right? Another important note here is when we look up here at the era of anniversaries and our total era level, as you move through the era, there are little milestones. I currently have 1,280 episode currency. We can click up here to see that starting in the beginning, every era level that you increase, you will get a milestone reward of 10 currency. That starts to become more few and far between. You see at level 20, it's every 2 levels. As we get to level, I believe, 50, it's every 5 levels. And we go all the way down, and it starts to increase the episode currencies until you get to level 665. You'll get 4,000 currency. Level 665 means that you bring all 7 characters, which includes the journey character, to era level 95. So this is specifically for players who are going to be spending a lot of money. Players who are not going to be spending that kind of cold hard cash are going to, in general, expect to see, we're just going to just do the math here, times 6, an era level of about 390 at the end. Whether or not they will be able to unlock the journey character is really going to be based on if they have spent some crystals towards these characters as well. But 390 seems to be about where you're going to be. Now, this episode currency, this era currency, is used in this new era shipment store. As of right now, there are 2 things available here. There is material for relic level 10 as of this recording, which is the highest relic level obtainable. And there are lightspeed tokens that you can use to bring characters in your roster, your legacy roster, up to higher levels. So, as an example, the Erodium lightspeed token, you will be able to bring any of the characters here, any of the attackers here, to level 85, to relic tier 5, and to 6 stars. Now, if even one single piece of this character can benefit from this sidebar, you will be able to upgrade them. It will not lower them. So, as an example, if I were to buy this, which I can't, I don't have enough currency, all of my characters are 7-star. If I were to apply it to, let's just say, to Ig 86, he would become relic tier 5. He's already level 85. He would not be reduced to 6 stars, right? Now, what should you buy from this store? Again, because it's early on, I want to talk generally. If you are in the early to mid game, these lightspeed tokens are going to heavily increase your ability to compete in other more important game modes. If you are at the end game, you are almost exclusively going to be buying these coaxial servo motors so that you can either stockpile for relic 10 or so that you can apply that relic 10 to, your already defined characters. By the time you're watching this, could there be more items in the store? Yes, sure, maybe. The point still stands. You can see as we click on the lightspeed tokens, each one of them will tell you exactly what it'll apply up to. No units match the current search filter because I have no units that this will work for. We are told that when it comes to these lightspeed tokens, any character that meets the criteria. So here it's healers, here it's tanks, here it's attackers that have been in the game for at least 1 year from the date of these tokens being released will be eligible. So when this era turns over to the next era, the characters from this era will not be eligible for another 9 months. Going into the Coliseum game mode itself, this can be kind of daunting because not many people really understand what is going on here. It's important to note that this is something that is intended to take about 2 to 3 minutes a day. So let's go over this piece by piece. Number one, you see on the left-hand side, well, actually, let's rewind even further. Coliseum consists of 4 bosses, right? And we can go to this featured info to see the 4 bosses that are currently available: the Jotaz, the Zepho Tomb Guardian, the Dryax, and the Pirate ATST. We can drop down to see information on each of those characters' attacks and on any specific bonuses they may have. Some of these characters maybe are just straight up attack them and do as much damage as you possibly can. Whereas some of the characters, like this Dryax, They are in a pack, and you have to manage their health to make sure that they are within 12% more or less health than the other allied Dryax, right? So it is important with each era that you kind of familiarize yourself with the bosses that are there. These bosses are going to rotate every day. So right now we're at the Jotaz. Tomorrow will be the Zepho Tomb Guardian. The next day will be the Dryax, and then it'll be the Pirate ATST. And that's going to continue to rotate throughout the entire era. Okay. On the left-hand side over here, you have your one-time rewards. These rewards happen per tier. So I have already completed tier 1. I am on tier 2 now. And for every 10% damage I do up until 70%, and then again at 100%, I will get a milestone reward. Those things do not continue to happen. So the next time the Jotaz comes out, I will not get any tier 1 rewards. I will only be eligible for tier 2 rewards. These are a one-time thing per boss. The main goal you have here is to increase your score, to get into your shard leaderboard, so that you can each day get era shop currency right there to be able to use in that era shop that I was showing off before. We know that there are at least 1,000 players in each era. We in each shard. We do not know how big the shard is specifically, and we do know that every era your shard is randomized. So unlike your fleet shard or your arena shard, which stays the same from the moment you get it, this is going to change every time there is a new era. Your guild leaderboard is irrelevant other than just to be excited for your guildmates. The global leaderboard is irrelevant other than to just be excited for the other players in the game. The only one that matters for actual rewards is your era shard, right? Which is right here. I am ranked 26. So tomorrow at global game reset, which on the East Coast for me, East Coast USA, is 2 p.m. I will get 500 era currency as long as I stay within the 12 to 31 rank. And some days I have been, and some days I haven't been. Now, this is really important. Right now, there is a bug in the game. And by the time you watch this, this bug may not exist anymore. But every day at that reset, you have to go over here to your leaderboard to collect your reward. If you don't do that and you attack the boss first, those rewards will be lost. Now, this is a recognized bug. I expect it to be fixed in short order, but as of right now, that is the case, and it is something that you want to be aware of. One important thing to note as well is right now, as this is early on in the system, when I go into this battle, just Stormtrooper Luke is available. But when I actually hit battle, and we'll do that in a bit, when I actually hit battle, you will see from this featured info over on each character that the other units from the era will be spawned for me to give me a full team. Now, in the future and in future eras, we are told that instead of a summon, there will be a list of borrowed units that we are allowed to take into the game. They will not be taken from your legacy roster. They will be just taken from a pool that CG provides for us. For right now, it is just summons. And as you increase your tier, so again, I'm on tier 2, you lose one of these allies. Now, I know it says enemies here. It's actually pretty unclear, and the wording is talking about the Jotax or the Jotaz as being the ally and us being the enemy. So at tier 1, you will get 4 allies. At tier 3, you will get 3 allies. At tier 2, you will get 2 allies. And then at tier 4 and beyond, you will just have your singular ally to move through. This may change with loaned units later on, but that is how it works right now with summoned units. When these characters get summoned, they are summoned based upon the era level of the lowest character in your era roster that is part of the battle. Okay, so Stormtrooper Luke is my only character right now. He is 5 stars, 20 era level. All of my borrowed summoned units will be era level 20, which will, is important for kind of understanding how these battles work. But the stat share is not 1-to-1. We don't know what the stats are of those summons, and they are, as of right now, especially at lower levels, relatively weak. Now, next 2 weeks from now, when the next character comes out, that character, who in this case is IG90, will be level 1. If I go into battle with Stormtrooper Luke and a level 1 IG90, the summoned units will all be era level 1. Thankfully, we are told that the marquee for IG90 will give us enough currency to bring him to 15 right away, to kind of get him in line with what is expected for a free-to-play player. So that is to say that if you are a completely free-to-play player, by the end of the first 2 weeks of Coliseum for an era, you should have one character at roughly level 15, and you will start right away with another character at roughly level 15. Now, we're going to go into a battle in just a second. Actually, we'll do it now. We'll waste one here. When I go into this battle, there is a beautiful cutscene. I've already seen the cutscene, so I do not see it again. We can pull up on the Jotaz right here, Roar of the Crowd. Roar of the Crowd, the damage this unit deals is increased as points are earned. The damage this unit receives is decreased as points are earned. After enemies take 10 consecutive turns, this unit gains 30% offense and 200 speed for the rest of battle, and takes a bonus turn, and all buffs are dispelled on all enemies. So this is like in Rage, which is a mechanic that we kind of see in the raids a lot. But when I actually click on the character himself, you can see this says total enemy era level in battle is less than 75. Now remember, when we talk about enemy, they are actually talking about me. My era level, my total era level is 20 right now. The level 20 summons do not count towards my total era level. That means that this buff right here, that Roar of the Crowd, is going to give them 100% of these bonuses. As my era level increases, those bonuses are going to reduce, making this boss easier and easier and easier as the era goes further and further and further. Now, I can't necessarily do this right now, but what you will notice in Coliseum is that if you do enough damage to the boss to where the game feels your level should be, you will start doing 1 damage. This is unfortunately an intended effect, right? So if you start seeing all of your characters doing 1 damage to the boss, that means you've basically capped out on where the game expects you to do the damage and where it expects you to go, and you aren't going to be hitting any more milestones. Now, there have been bugs in the past where the enemy couldn't kill you and you couldn't die, and you were doing 1 damage, and you could run it on auto for hours and hours and hours and hours on end to increase that damage. But it is not advisable, as it is fairly minimal overall for very, very, very long amounts of time. If you do happen to find yourself in a situation where the enemy is unable to kill you and you are doing 1% damage, if you back out of the battle, you will keep your score, because of the 5 maximum attempts you get per day, they get eaten the moment that you join the battle, right? So if you leave the battle, whatever your score is, it will keep that. Now, I'll show you kind of here how that battle works. I can see up in the right-hand side, my score for Tier 2 is 715. This is where I've hit in the past. This is my highest. I know it's probably small on your screen. There's a little white line. It's not enough for me to get to level 2, the first milestone reward. It's also not enough for me to get this character to the 1% damage cap. But we're going to hit him anyway and see where we get to. Oh, look at that. He didn't do his AoE, which is nice. Maybe we'll do slightly more than we did last time. Nope. All right, battle over. Once the battle is over, if you did earn any milestone rewards, you'll kind of see them float across the screen over here. You'll get them and you'll be able to apply them to your character. Now, the other important thing to note here with your leaderboard, you look at our leaderboard, it takes into account your tier and your score. A higher tier is always better than a lower tier, right? So sometimes you'll get into weird things where you see like, oh, hey, this guy is at tier, no, let's see if we can find one. This guy is at tier 3, 7,000. This guy's at tier 2, 22,000. Why is this 22 lower than this 7,000? And it's because of the tiering, right? Now, once again, your characters, once they start hitting that 1 damage output because of your era level, that's about as far as you're going to be able to go. Now, in my experience, if you are free to play, you are going to be getting levels every once in a while, every day, every other day, in order to be able to complete the boss and make progress on the boss. If you are not free to play, that might not always be the case. I will use myself as an example here, just so that people can kind of learn from this. I purchased a $6.99 pack from this Era store. Where is it? This one right here, for the Era level 2 bundles, to try and get a little bit of a jump ahead. And of course, it does give me a jump ahead in the short term, but I have found myself stalled for the next 4 to 5 days or even longer, because the battles themselves, I am at a point where I am not getting the materials to advance, and I'm going to have to wait for the next marquee. So that is to say, if you are someone that spends a little bit, I would not advise spending on Coliseum. If you are someone who wails and wants to be at the very, very top of Coliseum, remember, you actually only have to be in the top 11 or the top 10, really. I know that score screen is bugged. Whereas Coliseum, you only have to be in the top 10 here in order to be able to get that maximum reward. Again, this is bugged where it says 2 to 11, blah, blah, blah. There can be some case to be made for players who want to game the system a little and maybe spend towards the first marquee to make sure that they are always in the top 10 of their shard until that second marquee comes out. Hey, maybe you can get lucky and your shard does not have a lot of spenders in it, and you can use that to be able to advance yourself with Era currency, but that is going to be on a shard by shard basis. I think that is about it. Again, these battles are light, they're easy. They don't have a ton to them. They are intended to be played very quickly. Your highest score is the only one that gets accounted for each day. So what that means is if I battle again and get a lower score, it does not change my ability to advance here. One important thing to note is that once I have finished my 5 free battles, I can refresh this for 250 crystals and get 5 more battles, and I can do that up to 2 times. I do not know if the second set of refreshes is still 250, but honestly, it is something that I would definitely steer myself away from and not recommend doing. When you do hit a higher tier on a boss for that week, your battles will refresh automatically so that you can get fresh attempts on that character. And the most important thing here is that when you reach the final tier of a specific boss, I believe it might be 7. I'm not 100% sure. It doesn't really matter. You're not getting there toward till the very end. It is an endless scoring system to make sure that we don't see 100 ties, right? So, with all of that said, I hope that you find this helpful. Um, it is, again, intended to be an evergreen guide. There may be some slight changes in the future if you're watching this 6 months from now. The only thing that you really have to keep in mind if you are choosing to play this, or really you should choose to play this, but if you are someone who isn't at the tip of the spear endgame, is I would advise playing through Coliseum in a free to play capacity just to maximize the stuff you are getting while you are investing further in your actual roster. Something to keep in mind as well, there is a material at the very top. Some people are calling them honeypots, Xeric ability modules. These specific abilities, which help you get from, I think it is 75 to 95 at any of the tiers that increase your abilities level, they cannot be purchased. They are only available through free to play. Well, not free to play, through play means, right? Right now, with the first marquee, there are 15 available if you have a 7-star Stormtrooper Luke, and they are available each day. But there is no way to directly purchase them if you look to purchase them. So, with all of that said, I hope that you find it helpful. Um, if you have questions, leave them in the comments or join us on Discord. And peace out. Hope you have a great rest of your day.